Don't speak what you don't understand. The truth is not in your command. Don't shout about what you think is fake. The decision isn't yours to make. Don't lie about the way things are. Tall tales will take you very far. Don't scoff when they say it's the end. In this life, you know you can't pretend. The days pass by, baby, set in stone. But it's not too late now for you to change your tone. Don't speak. Don't speak. Open your soul. Don't harden your heart. Don't speak. Don't speak. Open your soul. Don't harden your heart. Don't bask in a light that's not yours. We're not fighting a fictitious war. Don't boast about all the things that you've done, because in your hand you hold the gun. Your voice isn't gone, it's not been stripped away, but a broken record might as well not play. Don't speak. Don't speak. Open your soul. Don't harden your heart.
Hey everyone, it's Marianne. It is 6:20 on Saturday, December 28th. And I wanted to go over a couple of things because there's a lot going on and a lot of misinformation swirling out there. And we always say facts reign, right? So I want to put up a couple of documents and just let me pull them up for you. What we want to be able to start to show you is how you are being misled, basically, about your copays. We know that copays are starting on January 1st of 2025. We've been fighting them for several years. I can't tell you that how that case is going to come out, but we do know that we've been trying to fight them and that we're going to continue to fight them. And that's really all we can try to do. But we want to show you how they started, right? Because that's the important part. So many people don't know how copay started. They think that it was the insurance company that did it, the city did it. Well, actually, no, it was negotiated. And the reason why they were negotiated was because the unions needed to come up with funding for their contracts. And in order to do that, they agreed, as you've always heard us say, the United Federation of Teachers in 2014, in the 2014 MLC agreement, and in the teachers' contract, agreed that they would come up with savings in order to fund that contract. And they also agreed to $1 billion to be conveyed to the city from the city's health stabilization fund, that joint fund that's operated by the Municipal Labor Committee, that umbrella of unions, and the mayor. That fund had one purpose, was to pay the premium difference between the HIP rate and the GHI plan, basically, for any active worker and under 65 retiree, because it was always understood, as the courts recently affirmed, that senior care is under the HIP rate and the city should be paying it. Now, that fund, stabilization fund, has no money in it because it has been misused. It conveyed that $1 billion to the city to pay for the teachers' contract in 2014. And then the city and the MLC agreed to that 14 and 18 MLC agreement which required them to come up with savings. Now, it's very disingenuous that many of you don't know that you're being lied to, gaslit by your own leadership. And what do we mean by that? When you hear a union leader say, your healthcare is still premium free and high quality, don't worry, it's fine. Well, it's premium free. But if you've noticed over the last few years, you've been seeing an increase in copay or maybe an increased prior authorization where maybe you're going for a service and your doctor's receiving a denial of care. Do you want to know why? It's because that is the give back that they're not telling you that your leadership negotiated. And I'm going to prove it to you tonight because I'm tired of seeing this. I'm tired of hearing questions and all these other things being put up as a ruse that you don't understand exactly who is doing this and why and what circumstance it's being done in, and that you're not being told it's happening. These copays that are coming on retirees, starting on Medicare eligible retirees, starting January 1, is a direct result of a municipal labor committee agreement negotiated by active unions to pass premium cost onto you in a form otherwise known as a premium. So they're not calling it a premium, but I'm going to show you in documents that when they pass those copays on, the cost to the city reduces. And I have several of these, but I'm going to try to make this as simple as I possibly can because this is a confusing subject. Sometimes even for us when we're looking at these numbers because they are pretty big. So I want to start, let's start with the very first document is this one. This was a menu of savings that was proposed by Cass Holloway, who used to be the deputy mayor of operations under Mayor Bloomberg. And this was their menu of savings. And you see at the top, it says the City of New York proposals to the MLC for health benefit bargaining. So when you start to read these, and there's 14 on this page, you can see that this actually started on March 8th of 2010 at the bottom. And this still exists today. They've been using this document in 14, they used it in 18, and they're still looking at it. I want to show you what they were looking at, and then there's several pages to this document. We're going to go through them. So one says implement co-premiums, which means you're paying every month a premium on your healthcare on all basic plans to reflect industry practice. This was a big thing under the Bloomberg administration. Bloomberg felt we all should be paying for our healthcare. 2, establish co-payments and deductibles in the HIP HMO plan to approximate the design of the GHI Blue Cross CBP plan, estimated savings C attached. Now, why do they want to do that? If they keep suppressing the HIP rate, then they're lowering what the city pays. Unfortunately, when the rate started to change, remember when we always said, when the HIP rate's higher than the GHI rate, that difference goes into the stabilization fund. But when the GHI rate is higher than the HIP rate, money has to come out of the fund to equalize it. Otherwise, you would be paying premium. That was the purpose of stabilization. So you have this document here where they're coming up with these ideas in order to save money. And if they meet these targets, remember in the 14 and 18 agreements, it was like 200 million, 600 million, 800 million, 1 billion. And if they met those savings, then they hit their targets. They got more money into stabilization to put into their welfare funds, and they got their raises. Because it funded their contracts by passing cost on to you. So I don't ever want to hear someone saying that your contract had no givebacks. You are paying for your raises by them doing this. And this needs to stop. They should never be diminishing your health care, passing on copays, increasing deductibles on you, and not telling you that they're doing that. And that's how they're funding your raises. This is how they're funding their contracts. If they're doing that, they should tell you, and you should know that, and you should be voting to do this. You need to know why your healthcare is in the situation that it is in. If you're having trouble, and we get emails all the time that people are telling us the copays are too much, or this $30 copay, or the increased copay on hospitalization, or increased ER visit, or ambulance, and I'm going to show you some of those. So for here, you recognize that for those that are retired, if you're a high earner, you get an IRMA reimbursement. So Medicare B premiums, they're, I think, what 140, 100 something, $70 something a month. If you are make over $88,000 on your joint tax return or individual tax return, then you have to pay a little bit more for Medicare, and that's called an income-related adjustment payment, and you have to pay more out of your Social Security for Medicare. You get that back in the city because that's part of the city's rule that you would get your health care at no cost. Just like the employees do, Medicare eligibles do as well. However, for us, we're paying for our health care and we're not getting reimbursed for it for 16 to 18 months later. That's the part that the active workers don't know. So in continuing with this document, I want you to see some more of the things. Reduce the contributions to the welfare funds. Implement Medicare plans that generate savings, i.e. Medicare Advantage plans. This is where they got that, was on this mayoral initiative under Mayor Bloomberg. Establish copays and deductibles in the HIP VIP plan to approximate the design of GHI CBP Blue Cross. There's a $23 million savings that would be attributed to meet that scale that they had to meet. You can see some of these numbers. If they reduce the money to the welfare funds, they were saving for each $100 reduction, $58.5 million. The same thing with reducing the $65 contribution to the welfare funds, which right now they're not getting them anyway because there's no money in the fund. That would save $35.8 million. So this is what they wanted to do the entire time, was pass cost on to you. This is a very telling document. I want to go through the rest of the slides. Now, if you notice up at top, it says Proposal 1, co-premiums on all health plan base premiums. And for illustrative purposes, this was a 10% co-premium that was based on the fiscal year 2010 rates, okay? So it would show you how many individual contracts they had in whatever that plan was, GHI, Aetna, Cigna, the accounts, what that monthly rate was, the cost was, and then the changes if they were implementing a 10% co-premium, meaning you, the active worker, and the under 65 retiree, and the senior care retiree, all Medicare, all employees and retirees would be paying premium of 10% to your health care. So this chart also shows that if they implemented, it says savings estimate for changes to the HIP HMO benefits to approximate GHI CBP plan. This here shows you, if you look in the first column, GHI, it says current. The current in 2010, the current copay was $15. The HIP HMO was $0. They're proposing and raising the HIP HMO to $15. They're proposing in the specialist office to raise it to $20. For ambulatory surgery, the HIP rate was $100 for ambulatory surgery. I'm sorry, inpatient facility copay. They want to raise that to $250. Mind you, the people that are on HIP are typically your lower income people. So by passing on copays, they're suppressing the premium of that plan, okay? And proof is right here. You see up at the top, it says renewal base rate. See that 462? And by passing on the rate passing on copays to employees and retirees, they're suppressing that renewal rate because they're passing costs on to you. This is just absolutely horrible. When we got a hold of this, this blew our mind. We could not believe that they were trying to do this in so much. Look, ambulance copay, $1,000 maximum, 20%. They were instituting $100 copays. Skilled nursing facility care limit, 200 days. The HIP HMO had unlimited skilled nursing. They were now narrowing it down to 120 days. It shows you what the monthly contract savings would be a month, what it would be for family, individual and family rate. And then this column here would be the base individual. So you'll see that the rate runs at about $452 to $460 for individual. And then The family plan here was just over $1,000. And then that plan would be reduced because of what they were charging. So this talks about savings estimated for changes to the current HIP rate. HIP VIP, this is the Medicare Advantage plan for the HIP. So this is your Medicare eligibles. This is where we're proposing in 2010. And those copays actually went higher because some of the people there now are paying like $30 copays. Okay. Senior care plan, they hadn't touched them at all. And again, the renewal, they're showing you the renewal base rate at 129 is a full 100%. There's 27,756 people at the time on HIP VIP. And it shows you out of like 250,000 people, that's not a lot of people that are on the HIP plan. And that's active and retired. This was also their Medicare plans, and that they were trying to also pass more copays, hospitalization, and this is their cheaper plan. And it's only offered, this is their VIP plan, is only offered in like 10 counties. It wasn't offered in a lot of places, and it's still not. Their VIP Medicare options, and then their mental health parity. This was something that they had to meet meet with compliance. And so that's that one document. Now, let me go and pull up another one. And let's show you what this one looks like. Okay, this is going to tell you point blank. It says at the top, health savings data request to Empire Blue Cross, February 9th of 2018. And it says, this is an urgent request pertaining to collective bargaining for which we are seeking a response to the attached questions by close of business Thursday, February 15, 2018. This was for the start, I believe, of the 2018 MLC agreements because they had to come up with money. Now look at number 2, for example. Create a savings estimate for the following scenarios and itemize the savings. It says change from the current $300 inpatient copay to an inpatient tiering scenario of $0, $300, $2,500 with an out-of-pocket maximum of $5,000 single, $10,000 family. And then B and C goes up a little bit higher. This is very telling that they've been doing this for a long time. You guys complain to us and you think, Emblem sucks. It's a horrible plan. No, it might suck for you now, but it wasn't because the insurance plan did this. It's because our own people did this. So I can't expose this anymore. I mean, this is just so blatant. Number 3, please provide estimates separately for inpatient, outpatient, as well as a copay impact versus utilization change impact. Please also submit underlying data assumptions and methodologies. Please confirm the savings estimate previously provided for tiering. Take into account increases for plan cost and for those who already use tier 1 hospitals. What was tiering hospitals? Do you remember hearing Henry Garrido say he wants to tier hospitals? So if you went to an HHC hospital, you had a $0 copay. If you went to everywhere else but other than like New York Hospital and Presbyterian, that was tier 2, and you had like a $50 or $100 copay, and I think that might be on the next sheet. And then if you went to New York Hospital or Presbyterian, it was like some ridiculous like $1,000 copay. They wanted you not to go to that hospital. Now, if you lived closest to that hospital, you were screwed. Thank God they did not implement that, but that's in here. That is what they wanted to do. Let's see what else. They're submitting data including the fiscal year 2017 paid claims for each of the 3 hospital tiers, assumptions, methodology. So they want to see how many of you go to the hospital, how often, and what hospitals you go to, and what you go there for. That's called an experience rating. So if like 20,000 people went to the hospital because they hurt their back, and another 10,000 people went to the hospital for car accidents, or you went to the hospital for the flu. They will know how many people went to what hospitals for what diagnoses. And then now they know 30,000 people went to the hospital. And if they charge you a $300 copay for all of those 30,000 people, they know how much money that they can expect as a savings to apply towards their contracts. That is what they did to Medicare eligible copays. The copays that they're instituting next week are supposed to yield the unions $50 million a year. And they're averaging that would be about 250,000 people at a $15 copay. They estimate that on average, and they're taking, because I may not go to the hospital as much as you go to the hospital, but if you go twice as much as I do, they take an average. So an average of 250,000 people, they average go 12 times a year to the hospital or the doctor, and at $15 a copay yields them about $45 million. They knew what to expect. They knew. And this is why this is dirty. I just showed you that they knew what the premium would change to if they implemented that copay structure. They knew. Because the copay went down in 2022 when we got the injunction on our copays. And then the copay went back up when we got the injunction in 23. So when they went to implement the copays in 22, we saw the senior care rate drop. And when the injunction came in 23, that senior care rate jumped back up on the actuary reports. It's the same thing here. That first page that I showed you is exactly the same thing. So here they're talking again about how hospital, inpatient, outpatient copays, depending on the level of 0, 500 to 2,500, they'll change them to whatever deductible to raise the money that they need to raise. Here was they're talking about the tiering of hospitals. So now you can see tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Tier 1 is 0. This tier 2 says 500, I believe, and tier 3 is 2,500. And it says proposed cost sharing of $1 per percentage of copay for inpatient. Now your outpatient, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Outpatient, $0 tier 1, $250 for tier 2, $1,250 for tier 3. Which are the tiers? This is what I was telling you. Tier 1 is HHC. Tier 2 is all other hospitals. Tier 3 is Presbyterian and NYU. Yeah. Thank you, UFT. Thank you, DC37. Thank you, Harry Nespoli. This is what you guys created. This should be the issue of which all union members and retirees are focusing on. Your healthcare is being diminished under your noses, and you just don't even realize it. And you don't even realize who did it. For the United Federation of Teachers, it was Artie Pepper who was in these negotiations with Michael Mulgrew. And for this DC37, it was several different people, and the last of them in the last round was Willie Chang and Henry Garrido. So you could see the difference in their hospital tiering. This is just egregious. So they know that the number of people that would go to HHC hospitals, tier 2 hospitals, and tier 3 hospitals, they're trying to reduce that 20% that goes to tier 3. And if they can charge you a copay, they're making millions of dollars to apply towards their contracts. Here it says current copays are $0, $10 for primary care physician, $10 for specialist. The proposal was jacking that up to $10 for primary care, $30 for $30 for primary care, and then their savings would show you what that 0.29% would be applied towards the premium rate or towards their savings benchmark. And you'll see it says deductible credits assume, I think that says a $6,850 maximum out-of-pocket level. Deductible applies to all medical services except primary care visits. So they're making sure you're paying. It says underlying data utilized for pricing assumption and this was based on the 2016-2017 year, 6% of inpatient admissions were at Tier 1 facilities. 77% of inpatient admissions were at Tier 2 facilities. 17% of inpatient admissions were at Tier 3 facilities. Tier 3 was the NYU and the Presbyterian, the ones that they don't want you to go to. This shows you they knew what they would yield if they charged you based on whatever they charged you. That's pretty ugly. Again, raising the PPO prices. There are copays from 0, 15, and 30. They're thinking about raising them to 0, 30, and 50. Out of there, that's your, and then your in-network would be 250, 500 deductible. So raising your deductible from 250 to 500. Let's see. I'm going to see if I can upload these to our website and then put a link in our newsletter so that you can actually see them in there and then look at them on your computer in large screen. Let's see, using our current plan as a baseline, what are the potential savings associated with raising participating non-preferred specialist copays from $10 to $25? They say that savings for a $0 to $10 primary care copay and 0 to 25 for specialists would be a 0.51% savings. Note that this plan design is not currently filed. So whenever you file these changes for rates and premiums or copays, deductibles, you have to notify the state. They can propose that here, but they have to get it approved by the state to do that. And if you go over a certain percentage, it can cost more or take away the approval, some of the protections like grandfathering that the state provides. So let's see. This also shows more of the cost savings. What is the current risk to premium built into the HIP HMO? Express it as a percentage of the HIP HMO rate. In calendar 2018, large group HMO rate filings, submission to New York State Department of Financial Services, the projected medical expense ratio for calendar 2018 was 89.4%. And the administrative expense was 9.9. Note that New York State Insurance Department approved the rate filing as submitted without any changes. The actuarial rates would vary by account renewal period. And these were the questions that were going back and forth that the city was and the MLC were discussing on what they can do to get those savings. Now, let me bring up another document for you. This document was from 2017, and it says cost savings from existing initiatives. So you remember that 2014 MLC agreement? This is what they saved by what they implemented in 15, 16, 17, and 18. Thank you, Michael Mulgrew, because this is an exact example of the savings that they can attribute to their contract because they passed cost on to you. Look, when we won that case last week, that was huge because the court said that the city will pay the full cost of the HIP HMO, up to the full cost of the HIP HMO for every employee, retiree, and their dependent. We were vindicated that we'd been screwed for years, that this is what they're trying to do to us by passing cost on to us. There's established case law of what coverage means. The city will pay the full cost of health coverage. Coverage is defined as premium. So now if you say to me, well, what do you think about these copays? Couldn't the copays be premium? Yes, they can. It's actually premium transfer. See, the leadership knows that they can't charge premium up to the HIP rate, below the HIP rate, especially that they've been suppressing the HIP rate, right? Michael's not going to call you. Henry's not going to call you. Harry's not going to go. Psst, don't tell anybody. But I'm telling you, that's exactly what they did in 2016. And they've done it before. When they suppress it or they add a copay onto it, it suppresses the benchmark. The benchmark is what the city has to pay. Why would you suppress that? Because then that pass cost is on to you. Now, instead of passing on premium to you, Michael and Henry and Harry can still say, you have high quality premium free healthcare. Bullshit. No, it's not. It's not really premium free. This is like another way of disguising premium. Copays, deductibles, that's exactly what they're doing. And that is not covered under 12-126. 12-126 protects premium. So when they're doing this backdoor deals where they're disguising premium as a copay or a deductible, they're getting their savings and funding their contracts, and they're still telling you that your healthcare is premium free, but you're still paying for it just in another way. It's another name. They're not calling it premium, but it is. And we've shown you now, this is the first document where you can see that the premium to the city reduced because they charged you copays. So here, of all of these things that they did, the DIVA audit, which is the dependent eligibility audit, verification audit, where they want to make sure every year, every so years that, you know, whoever's over 26 isn't on your plan anymore. If you got divorced, you're no longer carrying that spouse, that kind of stuff. But here, if you notice, copay redesign, HIP savings from value-based network, fiscal year 2017, 4.88% for preferred plan versus 5.98 for the non-preferred plan. Now, that's also a paper savings, and I'm going to tell you how that works. I had a retiree from OMB say to me, oh, did you ever hear of a paper savings? I'm like, what's a paper savings? Well, if we say that the premium for 2025 is going to be $1,000 and it only comes in at $800, well, that difference is a savings. I was like, no, it's not. It's never realized. Well, we call it a savings. It's a paper savings, but it's a savings. I was like, no, that's ridiculous. So he said, nope, that's actually how we do numbers in the city. We calculate a savings based on a projection, and if the actual number comes in under, it's a paper savings. And that was one of the things that was pissing off like the Citizens Budget Commission, because they recognized that the savings that they were attributing weren't real. Some of them were totally bogus and paper savings and not realized savings, right? CBC, that's a whole nother video. But here I want to show you that when they negotiated those increased copays, you see that right here in 16, that was $3 million because I believe they started those in like July. The next year, 2017, was $63 million. That means you and me paid $63 million in copays so that Michael Mulgrew and Henry Garrido and Harry Nispoli and the people in the MLC that voted for this can get a raise in their active contracts. The next year, it went to 69 million, okay? Jump down here, care management changes, enhanced care management changes, readmission management, maternity management, and complex large case management. What is that? Prior authorization. So when they say to you, oh, we're going to give you a case manager to help you. Yeah, red flags should be going up everywhere, because that's one word: case manager, value-based, innovative. To me, those are all red flags. They want to control the care that you get, and then they put someone in charge of your healthcare to mitigate it. I don't remember if you ever heard of this company called EviCore. EviCore is one of those prior authorization organizations that reviews claims or requests for care for approval or denial. If you remember me talking to Megan Bent, Megan had told us that EviCore was one of the companies that had denied her father under United Healthcare Medicare Advantage prior authorization for his skilled nursing and rehab. And it was done by AI via EviCore. Guess who else uses EviCore? New York City. And this is built in as a prior authorization mechanism for care management changes. So if they recognize, and that's also was in the Aetna Medicare Advantage plan, by the way, if they notice that you were a high medical usage, diabetes, you were hospitalized too many times, if you hit that benchmark, and I want to say that number was like $75,000 in medical expenses, you were assigned a care manager, someone to try to tamp down those bills. Diabetic management, 1 million, 1 million, 2 million. Major plan designs, and this was in, I believe in the Emblem plan and partially in the HIP plan. For 2017, and actually I think that was also, that was primarily HIP, $85 million and then $87 million. The HIP HMO, $0 to $10 urgent care copays going to $50 in 2018 yielded $6 million. Remember when you guys were getting charged to go to urgent care? That's where this started. HIP HMO change, ER copay going from $50 to $150, that yielded $45 million. And if you see at the bottom, adding up all those numbers, came to approximately $3.4 billion, which is what Michael Mulgrew did in the night, and the chief leader. $3.4 billion savings was in their contract, the MLC agreement, the UFT contract. Yay, us. Guess what? You paid for it. So that's another one. Let's go to the next document. Okay, now, and then I'll go to questions because I haven't been looking at questions. I'm just showing you all these documents first. MLC minutes. This was like the holy grail. Look at the date, February 22, 2016. This is in the middle of the 2014 MLC agreement that paid for the UFT contract in 2014. So let's see. Willie Chang, DC37, gave an overview of the proposed plan changes under GHI, Blue Cross, HIP HMO, the Office of Labor Relations, Siegel, Milliman. Those are like their overpriced, high-paid consultants. Blue Cross, GHI have been working on fine-tuning the plan design changes and affiliated savings, and before you are the proposals to move forward with those set of changes. GHI, primary care physician copays, and there are no changes. Advantage Care Physicians Network under Emblem Health. There are currently 36 locations as well as Montefiore in the Bronx. The copays have a $0 copay for primary care and specialists. There is some concern that in the Bronx, there is not a physical ACP location except for Montefiore Hospital. We've been in contact with Emblem about this, and Emblem is meeting with the head of Montefiore to discuss expanding the network of ACPs to all the Montefiore facilities. This is not yet official, and this information should be kept confidential. In addition, they're trying to expand the Rockland Westchester through the Montefiore network. Again, this information is confidential until we get finalization, notification from Emblem. Non-ACP surgical specialty copays, currently $20. The new copay will be $30. All other specialists' copays are currently $15. The new copay will be $30. Now you understand why you've been paying. This wasn't Emblem that did this. This wasn't the city that did this. This was your own unions that did this. This started because of the UFT 2014 contract. I'm showing you this right here. These are official minutes from the Municipal Labor Committee. The current emergency room copay is $50, proposing $150. And they said the biggest issue is high utilization of emergency room visits. If you're hospitalized, the $150 copay is waived. It should be noted that the city originally wanted to propose a $250 emergency room copay. The MLC technicals proposed $65, so this was a halfway point to the $150. Urgent care clinics' current copay is $15, proposing a $50. MRIs and CAT scans at out-of-patient facilities, currently $15, we're proposing $50. Physical therapy, diagnostic lab copays, currently $15, proposing $20. These changes under GHI Blue Cross, the plan, technically loses their grandfather status. Now, remember when I said to you, if you raise them more than $5, you lose that protection? That's what they're talking about right here. Preventative non-drug costs are estimated to be approximately $10 million, which will cover physical exams, colonoscopy, digital imaging. There may be some relief on the welfare funds. if you currently cover contraceptive drugs, i.e. folic acid, prenatal vitamins, or prescribed aspirins. The estimated amount for preventative drugs is approximately 38 million and non-drug is approximately 10 million. Those are the changes being proposed under the CBP plan with Blue Cross and GHI. The credited savings for the CBP plan for city-funded agencies is approximately $85 million. And I showed you that on the other chart. Now you know, I'm telling you the truth. Let's see. Carmen Charles, 420, stated that she has concerns with the increased urgent care copays. This will burden her members. No kidding. And yet, they did it anyway. The chair said the last time we raised copays was 2004. The chair, Harry Nespoli. Henry Garrido, this is his common talking point. He doesn't know what he's talking about because we're not the only ones that don't pay premium. DC37 stated that we're the only municipality in the country that does not pay premium for our health insurance. That's not true. There's other municipalities that don't pay premium either. He says state employees are paying 32% of their premium and transit employees are paying 2%. The MLC is a far better deal, far better option than paying for health premiums. This is a good deal for members. No, because what they didn't realize is young people don't pay copays. It's the sick people. So you're basically penalizing people for being sick. This is what they did. And they recognized that it wouldn't be as great of an impact on people that were young and healthy, but it would be the ones as like a penalty premium, basically, for being sick or having a disability. The chair stated that for those people that have to pay premiums for their health care every time their contract expires, their premiums increase. So any raise that they receive goes towards paying for their health care. The goal of the MLC is to avoid paying premiums. Well, if you keep raising copays and adding deductibles and narrowing networks and putting in place prior authorization, you're doing the same thing. That is exactly what they did. Yeah. Judith Arroyo, Local 436, stated that we have members that live in areas where the only healthcare access is the emergency room or urgent care. We do have to look at these numbers a little differently. The chair stated that this is a work in progress. Willie Chang stated that on the HIP savings value-based network, every 1% in savings in reduction is approximately $65 million in reduced premium payments to the city. Now you know what they were aiming for. Under the HIP HMO, HIP is proposing a tiered network. They're increasing copays again. These providers will have a $0 copay. For non-value-based providers that you send out for MIRs or C-sections, those providers, if you continue to see them, will have a $10 copay. 65% of the providers are value-based providers, 35% are non-value. They were directly passing costs to you. Under fiscal year 2016, we have approximately $650 million in identified savings. That's $650 million that's coming out of your pocket. We are approximately $50 million short, and Bob Lynn mentioned that the city was not receptive to withdrawing that from the stabilization fund to fill the gap, but has now agreed that the city will take $50 million out of the stabilization to reach the $750 million target for fiscal year 2016. Steve Cassidy, UFOA, asked how much is in the stabilization fund, how much does the city owe us, and what does the gap look like on an annual recurring basis. Willie Chang stated that fiscal year 2016, the gap is approximately $50 million. There is no shortage for 2017. There is a $1.4 billion in the stabilization fund as of last week. The city owes us approximately $400 to $450 million for fiscal year 2015. The projected fiscal 2016 equalization payments are approximately $360 million. The equalization payment is what they had to pay when the rates were different between the GHI and HIP rates, okay? Harry Greenberg stated that one of the issues we were concerned about was the administrative code 12-126 states that the city has to pay 100% of the HIP CBP category basis. Since there's going to be a change in the rates, we received a letter from Corporation Counsel I sent to Bob Lynn and Harry that states this does not change anything in the administrative code. Discussion followed. Willie Chang stated that once we receive the deposits from stabilization fund should have about $1.8 billion and approximately $400 million is unusable due to reserves. So this just keeps meeting adjourned. The meeting is adjourned. Here's more. Plan designs, current copays, what the new copay would be. So it would show you that if it's going up, like for non-ACP surgical from $20 to $30, it would give them $26 million in savings. The ER copays being raised from $50 million to $150 would give them $36 million in savings. This is egregious to be able to see this. Physical therapy, they recognize increasing the copay from $15 to $20 yields $2.2 million. Diagnostic labs from 15 to 20 would yield just over 11 million. Preventative medicine, they weren't charging you, so that would be a negative, but everything else was going up. Here's more. This is savings estimates as of their 2016 year, what it would be for 2017, which was just like the first page that I showed you. And I have one more document for you to see. So those documents are older. Now I want to show you something more current. Every time you hear Henry Garrido say, or Michael Mogu say, Harry Nispoli, your healthcare is premium free, high quality healthcare. You don't have to worry about premiums or copays. We're fine. Well, here's recent minutes that someone shared us a single page with from DC37 that appears to have just been given to us from the last month. Okay. Now, this says PICA program. Now, PICA does not affect anyone on Medicare. If you are Medicare eligible, PICA doesn't help you. PICA is only, and it's actually just to be called IC because it's injectables and chemotherapy meds. PICA only covers active workers and under 65 retirees. The MLC approved the withdrawal of the last reserves to pay the last of the PICA under Express Scripts. The reserve now has $100,000 left for a program that spends about $20 to $25 million a month. The prescription part of the PICA program costs the city about $200 million a year, and to pay for this, the city is proposing the following very onerous increases. Increased copays, coinsurance for selected surgeries up to 20%. Remember I told you they know your experience ratings. Experience tells them how many people went to what hospitals and what they had done. So they know. So they're going to say, well, not many people going for arm surgeries, but those knee surgeries or back surgeries, we're going to start charging extra copays if you go to the hospital for back surgery. That's a suggestion. Increase emergency room visits from $300 to $600. Increase copays to $57, $75, and $100 and more. He doesn't go into the details. The MLC pushed back on the true cost of the debt, saying the city is not accounting for savings from the purchase of biosimilar drugs and the resolution to dispute the $40 to $50 million in rebates. To create significant savings, the MLC proposed a third-party audit of insurance claims for fraud. Now, this blew my mind. They are thinking that there's fraudulent claims in your medical bills. And if you are a DC37 person, you got a 3-page letter that I directed you last week to line your bird cage with or return to sender telling Henry to kiss your tuchus and return it to him. On that 3rd page was a QR code. There's no reason for you to do that. The QR code is giving your former union the ability to look into your medical claims. They're your former union. You should not be sharing anything with them. Even an active worker should not be allowing a union to look into your medical records. That is egregious. even if they do it with a third party or whatever. And this actually says that to create significant savings, the MLC proposed a third-party audit of insurance claims for fraud. What makes them think that there's millions and millions of dollars of fraud in medical bills? Enough to put your people through that violation of privacy. That I just don't understand. With all the breaches of security that we have repeatedly, even at the hands of DC37, I would never give them access to my medical records. He says members need to give consent to the auditors. So if you see that QR code, I'm begging you, do not do this. That is absolutely insane. DC37 will be asking its members to give authorization so that a third-party auditor can audit claims from hospitals and other providers. The first part of this process will be a survey emailed to members. DC37 may have to absorb the PICA program, which would cost $50 to $60 million a year and would be a disaster for DC37's welfare fund. My answer to that is you did this. You put us in this situation. And in the 3.5 years that we're fighting this, to have never come up with a plan B, just waiting and praying that the court finds for you, while now 13 judges, 3 courts, 2 unanimous decisions found that you repeatedly broke the law. And yet they never came up with another plan on how to mitigate their losses. This is egregious. The MLC is investigating group purchasing of prescriptions and replacing its PBM. PBM is the pharmacy benefit managers. The city is interested but wants savings now. The city is also looking into removing PICA, Nescro, home subsidy, Weight Watchers, diabetes management, wellness program, the widows program, mental health subsidy, HIP mental health, and more, a $60 million in savings. PICA covers retirees until they get covered by retirees' medical coverage. PICA covers active workers and under 65 retirees. So I don't know what the heck that means, but that's not right. The city stated that they will revisit the negotiated acquisition in March of 2025 and expect it to be implemented in January of 2026. And that's interesting because right there they're telling you that they're expecting to implement the new plan. Give me 1 second. Come on, Jen. My dog fell. Okay, let's see. The court case for Medicare Advantage program begins next month and should be resolved in January of 2025. And I believe he was referring to the one that just got resolved. So this has to be November. The court ruled that the MLC has the right to negotiate retiree health insurance. This made me laugh so much. No, the court never ruled that. The court said that unions can negotiate for active workers and under 65 retirees, or for employees' retirement benefits. He never said that the unions have the right to negotiate for current retirees. What he did say was, even if he said that the unions couldn't negotiate for current retirees, that basically just meant that the city could screw those retirees all on their own. This is why a union leader was always told when they were given the torch by the outgoing leadership, never touch retiree benefits. Except these numbskulls didn't get that memo. And if they did, I guess they didn't think it was that important to follow. So no, the judge never said that. The judge still has never said that unions can negotiate for current retirees. There's still a standing precedence under Pittsburgh Plate Glass, a case from the 70s. Unions do not negotiate for current retirees. We're not in their collective bargaining unit. Hard stop. So again, gaslighting at the best. Let's see, where was I? The court, a DC37 citywide contract, Article 6 speaks to health insurance for retirees and active members. No, that isn't true. I did a video on December 10th. If you want more details on that, because we did a debunk of the Henry Garrido 3-page letter, go up and look at that. That's not true either. I think it basically says that you can change your healthcare plan once every year or every 2 years back then. It doesn't speak to anything that he has any rights to control retirees. DC37 reviewed the contract for CivilScript to cover retirees' prescriptions for a total of approximately $70 million for approximately 50,000 retirees. Currently, DC37 spends $65 million for approximately 150,000 active members. MSK and Anthem continue to negotiate their contract. Executive Director Garrido believes negotiations are progressing. So if you didn't hear, MSK and Anthem did come to a resolution. We posted it on our website last week. So if you are a Anthem client or a Anthem hospitalization client, which most of the, actually just about everyone in the city is, then you don't have to worry. MSK would still be in your network. They came to an agreement. So that, I believe, is it. Let me just make sure I covered all 5 documents. I'll just take a quick check. Yep, I did that one. Yep, I did all 5 of them. So this is proof positive that they sold everybody out. Active workers, retirees. This wasn't just done by some non-entity. This was literally done by our own union leadership. So now let me scroll back and take a quick peek at comments, because I was not looking at those. Hey guys, hey Jen. Many think Emblem Health changed the contract. Few know that this was the work of primarily 2 parents. Yes, and so when the unions negotiated the copays, there was no change to the original contract, and that's how we got that very first injunction. When that contract was corrected to permit copays to be charged, and that's only because the municipal leadership, municipal union leadership, municipal labor committee leadership of the UFT and DC37, Harry Nispoli, said, yes, the MLC wants those copays from those old folks. Please pass, fix that contract. They did. And so then the city and Emblem corrected the contract to permit copays to be charged. That lifted the injunction. There was nothing we can do about that. And that's because the people who were supposed to be looking out for us weren't. G Bear, I have a question. Are the NICERS options a good choice? So G Bear, I don't know what NICERS options you're looking for. That would be a question you can write in detail to the organization and retirees at nycretirees.org. Let me see if I have that. Oh yeah, I'm going to put up that banner. Our website is ticking at the bottom, www.nycretirees.org. Let me see if I can actually let me put our email in there too, retirees at nycretirees.org. Okay, and that ticker at the bottom will show you again that Venmo and Zelle are ending this month, so you've only got a couple more days. You've got to start making your donations through our portal. Go to our YouTube channel. There is a video that will show you how to create your own account so that you can go in, you can change the date of your withdrawals, you can change the method that you're paying, the amount that you're paying. So, and then there's our website, retirees at nycretirees.org. So send that to us, detailed about that, like what you're looking at. We would want to help you with that by knowing, like, are you married? Do you have a partner? Do you have children? Do you have a life insurance policy? Because you can't just make a decision without those things. Like if you're single and you don't have dependents, it may just make sense for you to take the maximum pension. But if you do have dependents and you may not have a life insurance policy, or you may have a life insurance policy, you have to determine how much, if you do want to take that and not just use the pension reduction, because you will be experiencing a pension reduction to allow for a pension payment to a beneficiary. Okay, but that's a conversation for another day. I don't understand why the union sells us out. John, for raises. So they had to come up with money for raises. When transit workers did it, it yielded them about 2% when they sold out their retirees. And for us, I want to say it was probably about the same thing. I think it was like $460 million was every 1%. And that's how they got their UFT contract paid in 2014. And then if you go to 2018 and look at DC37's contract, the same language was in there. They had to get the MLC to agree to healthcare savings on a recurring basis in order to fund the DC37 contract in 2018. That's why. Money and greed. And they didn't think about what this population looked like, that the needs of an elder population is different than the needs of a 20, 30, 40-year-old population. They didn't care. And they also didn't recognize that many of us who are retired 20, 30, 40 years don't make what they make. And I've always said, you can look me up. My pension's $35,000. And I can't even complain because there are people who make less than me. I have a retired police officer in Florida who makes $26,000. I have a retired firefighter who's 97 years old, or 98 years old. He makes a $25,000 pension. You don't know what these decisions are going to do. Now think about that for a second. If you make $25,000 pension, and let's say your Social Security is just hypothetically double. So now it's a $50,000 income. Rent, medication, copays now, thanks to our union leadership. And if you're an elder and have some disability or infirmities, if you're going to the hospital 3 times a doctor 3 times a week, or PT 3 times a week, or OT, or blood work, or chemo, you're spending now a lot of money. And where the unions might get several $1,000 increases a year for raises, this year we got 1.8%, which was $324 for the year. That's all we got. So does anyone know for 2025 what the deductible for Medicare and Emblem is? I can try to look that up really quickly. Medicare deductible 2025. So the Medicare Part B deductible will be $257. It's a $17 increase from last year. And to my knowledge, the GHI deductible is still $50. Okay, Sherry? It's a premium on our premium free healthcare. Yes, it is. Hi, David. Hi, Kathleen. Our own unions have the money and staff to work full-time against us. Without you, we would be totally lost. They lost the case based on the contract and then changed it, another lawsuit. Well, remember, that copay case is still kind of traversing through the legal process. And the last case we have, we're going back in spring for the Bentkowski case. Kenneth says, I would say I was shocked and surprised, but I am not in the least. So, So will any court action have a chance to remedy it? So that would be my only question. Well, the only thing I can say is we protected the premium and we're waiting for Bentkowski to protect that we can't be forced into Medicare Advantage. Outside of that, I don't really see that there's a lawsuit on the rest of it. I mean, I can talk to Jake and Steve on Monday, but I really don't think there is. That would come up through conscience, and I don't think that the UFT or DC37 have a conscience. And I don't actually see any of the other unions pushing back on the Municipal Labor Committee leadership at this point. And it's been well overdue, and I've been begging them to do it for years, but they haven't done it. So creating insurable events, not covering them, and then dumping the charge on us. Yeah, I know. Larry D. Thanks again, Marianne, for all your continuing relentless work. You're welcome, Larry. Marianne for mayor. That job would kill me. Margarita, I'm confused about medication coverage. I'm 64 and my drug is filled via Medicare Part D. So if you're 64, I'm assuming you're on Medicare because you're telling me Part D. I'm not quite sure what you're confused about. Then you have a drug plan, and depending if you are in like the teachers union, for example, that they don't give you a drug plan. You have to purchase the drug plan from the city. So Margarita, give me more information there. As I'm not understanding the question. Can AARP senior agencies, handicap agencies help out? I'm not sure what they would help out with. These are heartless CPAs as hired guns. Well, that's even what OMB is. Non-union, the cost of medication has gone up $200 a month. I was paying 20 cents. Oh. So they may have taken your drug out of formulary. What you might want to do is, and remember this year, because you're on Medicare Part D, you have a $2,000 out-of-pocket maximum that you'd end up spending. So after that, the plan has to cover your medication. But you may want to ask the pharmacy if they didn't run the drug, 20 cents to $200. That's insane. Ask the pharmacist if they didn't run the drug through your insurance, but if they did it like through a Good RX or if there was another discount, what would the drug cost? That's insane that it would cost $200 from 20 cents. Ask them that. Ask them that. Let me know what they say when you see me back on. That's okay. Don't worry if it's off topic. Holy cow, I can't believe the MLC chutzpah. I know, Ellen. That's crazy. The city knows no end to heinous manipulation that destroy healthcare and life for retirees. Absolutely. And this should be the focus of the retired teachers. That crazy group down in Florida and some of the, shit stirrers everywhere else, you should be focusing on this. You should be focusing on these copays, because if they're doing copays today, they're going to do copays tomorrow. They're going to do whatever the hell that they can do to reduce premium to the city and keep passing costs on to you. Because no one's screaming at them about this. You have that Tampa chapter down Florida talking about other stuff other than this. And I have one question for them. I mean, I gave them 10, but where do they stand for protecting retirees' fights? If the retired teacher chapter down in Florida or Unity or the UFT thinks that now they're proclaiming that they no longer support forcing retirees into Medicare Advantage. I hear angels singing in the background. Well, what are you doing about it? Are you getting behind 1096? And don't tell me that it violates collective bargaining. We're not in your bargaining units. Don't tell me it impairs your bargaining. It preserves a floor that's been in place for 60 years. It does nothing like that. You just don't like it because what that means is you can't keep raising our copays. That's what you don't want. They're not saying that to you. The union wants to be able, the MLC wants to be able to take your premium and transfer it to copays for their benefit. That's what they mean when they say it interferes in their collective bargaining. That just means that if you saw down that picture behind me with the two-headed robber stealing from grandma, that's why. They want to be able to continue to increase your copays to fund their contracts. That's what they don't want impaired, and 1096 would stop that. Sorry, guys. I'm going to call it like it is. This is gain share criminal activity. The federal anti-kickback statute makes a criminal offense in the federal healthcare. Well, I'm telling you. Ellen, I signed up for monthly donations via your website. Super easy. Thank you, Ellen. It is easy, and you can actually create a login go into the portal and create your own login. You'll have a username and password that you create. There's a video to show you how to do it. If, let's say, the date that you do it, let's say you made your donation today, and then you realize next month that making a donation on the 28th isn't convenient, you can log into the portal and change it to the 1st or change it to the 15th. You can change the amount. You can change the payment method. It really does empower you to keep control of your own account and then your contributions to the organization. So that's why we really like it. And of course, we have filing requirements for the IRS that we have reporting to do, and this helps us do that. Do infusions have a copay? I'm assuming, and I'm there every month, so I guess we'll find out soon enough. Thank you for a comprehensive, authentic history of New York City's sellout of retiree health coverage by greedy so-called leaders. Annie, when putting these together tonight, I said, this has to be the focus. This is what's wrong with healthcare in the city of New York. They have literally sold everyone out, and they're not saying that to you. They're not telling you that this is why, why that they did it. They've got their hand in your pocket. That's why this video is called Get Out of Our Pockets, because they are in your pocket and pocketbook. Copays is premium transfer. Deductible is premium transfer. And every time they're going to come back, look, they negotiate contracts every couple of years. If they have to come up with a savings, guess what? They're coming back for more. This is why 1096 needs to be passed. It puts in place a Medigap plan in the likeness that was in place on December 31st of 2021, the day before copays went into place. That means they cannot impose copays on you anymore. We need 1096 passed. And if this council won't do it, then we need to elect people in their places that will make sure that they protect retirees that serve this city. That means we need to also start going to their offices and making phone calls and doing emails. And that will all start next week. So be prepared, because we're going to do boots on the ground. And I know which winner. Buy boots and those little track things to grab on the ice, and we'll hold on to each other and bundle up really good. But we need to make noise. This is enough. Let's see. Bella says, thank you for all you do. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you too, Bella. Please donate, folks. Our attorneys don't work for chocolate gelt. We need to pay them. I love chocolate gelt. Yes, and of course, go up and donate to our organization. Let's see. Closing in on retirement, and thank God you're here. Well, you're welcome, Bella. William says, is Sanitation Union still actively pursuing this in the MLC? Yes. I haven't heard otherwise. So Margarita says, sorry, was using husband's LBA. So Margarita, many of the police unions had to change their drug plan to a pure Part D plan from a creditable D plan. So my suggestion would be to call the welfare fund and ask them if their formulary changed. But then my other suggestion to you is just to call the pharmacy as well and ask them about running that drug not using your insurance. Because if the drug was that much cheaper at one point, then maybe there's an issue with the formulary. So see if you can not run it through insurance, and maybe it would save you some money. Using a good RX card, because you can't use those cards on Medicare Part D. William says, the secret to creating a profile on the website is to select the subscribe first. Do it before selecting the donate option. Good point. Sherry says, thanks for all the information you've given. Wishing you a happy and healthy new year. David, let the UFT file an amicus in Bentkowski and support 1096 without threatening council members. And, and that's the point. What else is the UFT going to do? The UFT and the UFT RTC should be getting together and putting an amicus in solidarity into Bentkowski. They should be lobbying to support 1096, which protects us and them. So that's a win-win. There's no reason to be talking about anything else. This is what's on the table now. Bentkowski is coming in May. Get an amicus in our case and refute all the garbage that was put in by the MLC. And if you don't want to talk back what the MLC did, then stand up for your own members and put in your own comments about how this is important. I mean, look, you've got Lynn and Leon and Rodney and Leroy all saying that the union protects Medicare now. They don't want Medicare Advantage. Hallelujah. Well, what are you going to do about it? Don't tell me you support us. Show me. If you really do support protecting traditional Medicare and a benefit that was earned by a retired unionist, you will do an amicus, you will support 1096, and when we bring back our state bill, you'll get behind that too. And if you don't, you're just blowing smoke up our butts. You're trying to just change the subject. And that's just not enough. So that's the homework for the UFT. Everyone needs to start pressuring the UFT and the UFT RTC to start doing an amicus. And I understand the RTC may not have funding to do it, but the union does. And the union has $1 million lawyers. So I think that in solidarity, they should say, if we're standing that this is our position, this is what they should do. Tell the UFT RTC, hey, we got this. Let's do this together. Put both of their names on it and file that amicus and do it very soon. That case goes to court in May. Those documents would probably be due by March. Cougar Boots. That was it. So Hope Sugar's okay. Sugar didn't have surgery. That was an old post that I posted 2 years ago. Sugar's 19 and she's having some trouble walking. But yes, I'm talking about you. But I just thought the video was adorable. It was a 2-year-old memory, and I was just sharing just because I think she's adorable. Is this not elder abuse? Oh, Jazz Snare, it's a lot of things. And it's immoral. You're the best teacher ever. Listen to Marianne, folks. Mercedes Narcisse didn't have anyone challenging her when I went to vote. Then what? Well, then you either got to get someone to run or you just do a write-in campaign and you get all of your people in that district to write in someone against her. That's the only other thing you can do. I think they voted for me in like 30 districts. It was hysterical. I'll move to Brooklyn if you elect me. But I think I'd have to be a resident of Brooklyn by the time you end up getting elected or putting on the ballot. Let's see. Active workers, teachers will be marching with you on this campaign for legislation and to end the city and union bosses picking our pockets. We're living an affordability crisis in this city already. High cost of living is drowning us. Get out of our pockets already. Thank you, Daniel. Woohoo! Sorry I didn't finish. Can those organizations be approached to support 1096? So I must have skipped what you asked. AARP is already supporting us on Promise Made, Promise Kept. I don't think anyone else will support individual organizational issues, but Ellen, still waiting for Bob Krogan from OSA and who sits on the MLC's technical committee for healthcare to come and support us. I'm so disappointed with OSA. So Ellen, do you want to call Bob Krogan with me this week? I'll make that call with you. Monday, I'm in treatment all day at the hospital, but I will make that call with you Tuesday. We can do that. Good. Finally, an answer. Contact UFT to fight. Yeah, call the UFT. Ask for anybody. Ask for Michael. Ask for the leadership. Whoever's the leadership. Ask for Leroy. Take a memo. When are you filing an amicus? When are you coming out to support? Why don't you come and lobby the city council with us together in solidarity? That would be awesome. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Mulgrew, NATO, no action, talk only. I love it. Oh my goodness. So that's really it, folks. That's like all I've got. That was a lot in an hour and 18 minutes. We did that presentation in an hour and about 20 minutes worth of chit chat and comments. So I'm going to leave this here because it's already 7:30. And I want to say thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I will find a way to link all of these documents that I showed you today, whether they're linked in our newsletter or on our website. I will make sure that you get them. Please subscribe to our newsletter. It's really important that we stay connected to you. Make your donations to our organization. We are still fighting court cases, and it helps us run this organization to help you. And thank you for trusting us and believing in us. And you should know that this organization will always be there to protect you. Don't let someone tell you that someone's going to take your Medicare away, and don't think I'm asleep at the wheel. I am helping protect you with this team of people who work all the time, all the day, on a Saturday night, talking to several hundreds of you to make sure that you're educated and can pass this along. You should be passing these documents and this information along to active workers. They need to see who's harming them. When they say that their healthcare is premium free, it might be premium free, but they're transferring premium to copays and deductibles, and you're paying for it. And we showed you the goods on that. Daniel, we're getting slammed. Higher copays and deductibles. Most educators are now in tier 6 and paying into their pensions for decades until they retire, while tier 4 only contributes for 10 years. Then, as the UFT hoards hundreds of millions in our welfare fund from bulk transfers from the Health Stabilization Fund, we're paying more and more out of pocket. For dentists, it has to stop. And this is true for a lot of people, right? We said this about the copays for active workers and under 65 retirees, and then now for Medicare eligible retirees. And if the cost of living keeps going up and your cost of living adjustment for those that are retired only went up $324 for 2024, going to 2025, you only got $325 more than you had last year. That's it. And with those copays and the additional cost of groceries and fuel, there's no way we're going to be able to survive taking care of ourselves. And they're hoping to reduce that utilization by penalizing you so much that you can't go to the doctor. That's not healthcare. And for the young people that are still working, forcing them to pay more for their pension and then keep passing more copays and stuff onto them, that's not going to help them either. So at some point, they've got to stop giving it away. That's not, they don't have to submit to these givebacks. They don't have to submit to this. This is just disgraceful. So, Francis, I'm going to tell you, go back and watch this video from the beginning, because it's very much at length and it goes into a whole process of everything to explain from the beginning. David, you two have a great new year. Some actives are now starting to understand that they'll be getting screwed. Well, they've been getting screwed. OSA does the same while hoarding a lot of money and still having a crappy dental plan. Yeah, that seems to be the MO. All right, everyone. So before we keep on talking the night away, I love you guys. You hang in there. Have faith. We're still fighting. We're not going anywhere. We're not changing the subject. Medicare, preserving your health benefits, trying to reduce your costs. Those are our main focus. We've been loyal to this issue. We've been honest with you. We've been transparent with you. We share everything with you regarding where this is coming from and who's doing it. Do not be blindsided by people who are trying to change the narrative or make you think other bad things are happening and get you scared. There's no reason to be scared. We've always said to you, if there was something to worry about, we would tell you, and that you shouldn't be worrying unless you see us worry, right? So I'm going to stick with that. It's worked so far, and we haven't been untrue to you since this whole movement started. We talk to you every single week. What you should be looking out for is the people who tried to screw you, who now claim that they're your saviors. And those people are disingenuous. Now, if they finally had an epiphany and they're on our side, show me the goods. Don't tell me you love me. Show me you love me. So I love you guys. You know I show you. Make them show you. Have a great night. I love you.
Don't speak what you don't understand. stand. The truth is not in your command. Don't shout about what you think is fate. The decision isn't yours to make.